The hungry stranger and the new town temptation. Zina stepped off the rickety bus, her black leather bag slung across her shoulder like a warrior's shield. She had finally arrived in Osoto town, a bustling, noisy, gloriously chaotic urban sprawl where the sun cooked the tin rooftops and the air smelled like roasted corn, exhaust fumes, and ambition. It was her first posting as a government school teacher. Zina had graduated top of her class, full of fire, sass, and just enough self-doubt to keep her humble, but there was one thing she couldn't do to save her life. Cook. If the world depended on Zina to boil water, humanity would perish before dinner. She hated it, not just because she didn't know how, but because of the memories tied to it. Growing up in a broken home where every meal came in styrofoam or nylon wraps had taught her one thing: eating out is easier, faster, and safer for your emotions. So naturally, Osoto's local food scene. A paradise. Every corner had something sizzling: plantain puff-puffs, pepper snail, suya soaked in oil like a love letter from cholesterol itself. Zina became a known face around town within a week. Even the Okpo lady started keeping a wrap aside for her in the mornings. But one place stood out. Anyhow restaurant. What a name, right? It sounded like a joke. Even Zina had chuckled the first time she passed the sign. Anyhow restaurant, taste that leaves you speechless. Speechless. She was intrigued. Also mildly suspicious. But the outside looked clean, almost too clean: white walls, fancy lights, a glass door that slid open automatically. For Osoto standards, that was 5-star sorcery. The prices were surprisingly low. The jollof rice came with chicken that looked like it had done push-ups before being cooked. And the waiters? Friendly, maybe too friendly. One of them kept winking at her like she was the only customer in the world. She loved it. Day after day, Zina returned. She tried the ifo rairo, the goat meat stew, and once even a suspiciously fancy pasta dish they called spaghetti royale, which she suspected was just indomie in a tuxedo. She felt good. No dishes. No stress. Just vibes and extra pepper. But vibes have a price. It was on her 5th visit that the magic began to unravel. She ordered her usual, a mound of jollof rice with turkey so large it could have been mistaken for a pterodactyl wing. She dove in eagerly, her fork dancing through the food like it owed her rent. But then, Michu, she paused. She saw it. A single, curly, coarse hair, perched on top of a turkey drumstick like a dark, twisted garnish. Now, Zina wasn't new to the occasional strand of kitchen hair. But this one. This wasn't head hair. It was too thick, too short, too personal. She froze. Her eyes narrowed. Her soul gagged. No, no, no. Surely it was a mistake. She put down her fork, blinking. Her appetite had vanished, replaced by a deep, unsettling churn in her stomach. She motioned to the waiter with a quiet, polite nod, the kind of nod that says, "Excuse me, I think I just found a secret about your chef's hygiene habits and now I might need therapy." The waiter came over. "Yes, madam. Hope you're enjoying the meal." Zina smiled weakly and pointed at the evidence. The waiter leaned over, glanced at the hair, and then grinned. "Oh. Sorry, madam. It happens sometimes. You want us to bring another one?" Zina blinked. Was this normal here? She declined. She asked for the bill, paid in full, and left. But as she walked away, her stomach turned, not from the food, but from something deeper. A gut feeling. A whisper in her bones. Something was off. That night, Zina stood in front of a mirror, still dressed in her Ankara dress and half-braided wig. She stared at her reflection and mumbled, "Anyhow restaurant, huh?" Her brow furrowed. Something told her that was just the beginning, the red flags in the red stew. Zina woke up to what could only be described as a war happening in her belly. Her stomach was doing acrobatics. Her head throbbed like a drumline during New Yam Festival. Her bathroom had become a full-time performance stage, with her as the lead actress in a tragic gastrointestinal drama. She knew something was wrong. The only thing she'd eaten the day before was from Anyhow restaurant, her now favorite, yet oddly named, Food Haven. The same place that gifted her the armpit garnish earlier that week. Zina groaned, clutching her stomach as she stumbled into a taxi to the clinic, mumbling prayers and making dramatic deals with God like, if I survive this, I'll learn how to boil water. Maybe even yam. Hospital doctor's visit, plot twist in a lab coat. At the clinic, the nurse looked at her and sighed with the kind of sigh that said, "We've seen this before, sweetheart." The doctor came in. A tall man with sleepy eyes and the patience of 1,000 cents. He asked her some questions, scribbled in a file, and ordered a quick test. His diagnosis came back faster than a village rumor. You've got a nasty bacterial infection. The kind we usually see in places where hygiene isn't just bad, it's on vacation. You eat out often. Zina blinked, ashamed. Yeah. I don't really cook. He nodded, looking like a man who'd just seen yet another victim of culinary trust issues. Madam Zina, some of these restaurants clean the front, but the back is where the real horror lives. Please, avoid outside food for now. She left with medication, a stomach full of regret, and a mind buzzing with questions. Woman medium dark skin tone curly hair enter Kolechi, they come in the culinary storm. Back at home, her housemate Kolechi opened the door in her wrapper and slippers, holding a ladle like a magic wand. Oh no. Don't tell me it happened again, she said, helping Zina onto the couch. Zina groaned, don't start, please. My stomach's already judging me. Kolechi rolled her eyes gently, the kind of eye roll that said, I told you so, but with love. Kolechi was everything Zina wasn't, calm, disciplined, and the proud owner of 6 spice racks. She believed in the power of home-cooked meals and often invited Zina to join her in the kitchen, only to be politely dodged with dramatic excuses. But this time, Kolechi didn't say much. She just made pepper soup, handed Zina the bowl, and said, next time, just boil water. If it tastes bad, at least it's your own mistake. Brain flashback, Zina's origin story, why she hates the kitchen. That night, curled up under a wrapper and feeling like a microwaved plantain, Zina's memories came flooding back. She remembered her mother, always busy, always tired. Her father, gone more than home. No one cooked. Food came in takeaway packs, delivered by shouting motorcyclists or packed in nylon from street vendors. There was never warmth in the kitchen. No one taught her how to peel yam, or the magical balance between ginger and garlic. To Zina, food was just fuel. Not love. Not care. Just survival in a busy world. That's why cooking felt like punishment, and why shiny restaurants had always looked like salvation. Fork and knife with plate back to Anyhow, and the shadows within. A week later, once she felt strong enough to chew without fear, Zina decided to return to Anyhow restaurant, but this time, not with a craving. With curiosity. She ordered a small plate and sat near the back corner, close to the hallway leading toward the restrooms and kitchen area. The same waiter approached, same wink, same fake charm. This time, she didn't flirt back. She washed. She observed how one staff member scratched his head, then touched a tray without washing. Another girl dropped cutlery on the floor, picked it up, wiped it on her apron, which looked like it had seen 17 wars, and continued as if nothing happened. Zina's food arrived, and she stared at it like it owed her rent. She didn't eat it. Instead, she quietly got up and wandered toward the back, pretending to be searching for the restroom. The hallway was dim. The restaurant's polished front didn't extend this far. The paint was peeling. The smell, not exactly soup of the day. Then she heard it. Voices. Raised. Angry. A man's voice, sharp and panicked. How many times will I say it? No one must know what we do with the leftovers. Zina froze. Her blood ran cold. Another voice, nervous and hushed. But sir, the meat was already smelling. So what? Wash it. Add more pepper. Who will know? They eat anything with seasoning. Zina turned, her feet moving before her brain caught up. She pushed open the exit and walked straight home, her heart pounding like a talking drum at a village ceremony. Back at her apartment, she sat on the couch, silent. Kelechi came in, raising a brow. You okay? Zina looked up slowly, eyes wide. Kelechi. Remind me to never trust shiny tiles again. Behind the kitchen door. The next Saturday, Zina dressed like she wasn't about to commit low-key espionage. She wore her favorite yellow blouse, the one with the loose sleeves, perfect for hiding a phone in case she needed a sneaky photo, and tied her braids into a no-nonsense bun. She looked calm on the outside, but on the inside, her stomach did a nervous tango. Not the food-induced kind this time, just anxiety, plain and spicy. Anyhow, restaurant looked as charming as ever. Fresh flowers in vases. Sparkling floors. Music playing softly in the background, some soulful Afrobeat that made you feel like maybe the world wasn't ending after all. She ordered the chef special. A dish they never quite explained but always served with suspicious enthusiasm. Today, she wouldn't eat it. Today, she was going in. Door the plan, Operation Restroom. Zina waited until halfway through her drink. Then, she clutched her stomach with Oscar-worthy dramatics and motioned to the waiter. Please, where's your restroom? He pointed casually toward the back hallway with a smile so fake, it should have been made of plastic. She nodded gratefully, stood, and walked, but as soon as she reached the hallway, she made a swift detour through the swinging double doors to the kitchen. She'd seen movies. She expected some mess. But what greeted her? Pure. Sanitary. Madness. Sponge horror unfolds. The first thing that hit her was the smell. Not food. Not even bad food. No. It was something between sewage, sweat, and expired spices. Her nose wrinkled so hard, it nearly imploded. She stepped further in, heart hammering. What she saw would stay with her longer than her university debt. Stacks of dirty plates with hardened oil and food crust from who knows when. Buckets of meat, unrefrigerated and buzzing with flies like they were VIP guests. A woman in a filthy apron stirring a pot of soup. With her bare finger. She licked it. Stared at the finger. Shrugged. Stirred again. A man barefoot, chasing a rat that looked like it paid rent in the kitchen. Used tissues on the chopping board. Someone was slicing vegetables beside it like it was seasoning. Zina's jaw dropped so hard it needed its own support bra. And then she saw him. The head cook. A large, sweaty man in a singlet with a hole near his armpit. His teeth were the color of forgotten yam. He sneezed into the pot. She stumbled back, eyes wide with terror. A staff member saw her. Hey! You're not allowed in here. Zina turned and bolted, bumping into a tray of dirty cups on her way out. The clatter echoed like thunder. She pushed through the doors, back into the restaurant. Brain reality check, lifestyle crisis mode. She sat back at her table, gasping quietly. The soup sat untouched in front of her, still smiling like betrayal in a bowl. Everything inside her screamed. What have I been eating? How am I still alive? She had laughed off Kelechi's warnings. She had ignored the signs. She thought shiny menus meant safe kitchens. She was wrong. Zina paid and left, not because she was full, but because she was done. megaphone rejection and denial. The next day, fueled by a righteous rage and probably still a dash of nausea, Zina went to the local health inspector's office. She told them everything. The rats. The meat. The soup finger. The sneeze. The woman behind the desk blinked slowly. Then she laughed. You mean anyhow restaurant? She shook her head. My dear, that place is very popular. The owner is friends with the council chairman. You can complain if you want, but don't expect a follow-up. Zina left with her fist clenched. The system had spoken, not today, madam. Shushing faced the whisper of warning. She returned one last time. Not to eat. Just to watch. She sat at a table near the front, ordered a bottle of water, and silently observed. Customers came in and out, happy, clueless, licking fingers and singing praises. She sighed. Maybe they didn't know. Or maybe their stomachs were stronger. But as she rose to leave, a waiter, the same one who'd served her earlier, leaned in close as he collected the empty bottle. His tone was low. His eyes serious. You shouldn't have gone into the kitchen. Zina's throat went dry. He stepped closer, barely above a whisper now. If you value your life, forget what you saw. He straightened, smiled, and walked off like he'd just told her the chicken was extra spicy. Zina stood frozen for a moment. The kitchen. The bacteria. The strange loyalty the staff had to their secret filth. And now, a threat. This was no longer just about food. It was about truth. About danger. And about choices. Zina's awakening. Zina had never held a spatula before that day. At least, not on purpose. But now, standing in her small kitchen with Kelechi by her side and YouTube cooking tutorials open on her phone, she felt like she was about to launch a space shuttle rather than boil water. Okay, Kelechi said, tying her scarf like a culinary Obi-Wan Kenobi. Let's start with something easy. Rice. Zina squinted. The one that just needs water and fire. Kelechi chuckled. Yes, and common sense. Don't skip that part. Fire. The fire begins. They started slow. Boiling rice. Making simple stew. Zina burned her fingers twice, nearly mistook sugar for salt once, and discovered a deep mistrust for onions. But day by day, she improved. Her first edible meal was fine. Her second was passable. By the fourth attempt, Kelechi licked her fingers and said, I'm scared. You might actually be better than me soon. Zina gasped. Are you encouraging me or setting me up to burn jollof again? They laughed. The kitchen echoed with warmth. A place she once feared had now become her sanctuary. Books, research, rice and rice. Zina became obsessed, not just with cooking, but with understanding food. She learned about hygiene, bacteria, and the kind of kitchen sins that make your stomach write complaint letters to your soul. She threw out her rusty old pans, bought new utensils, and kept the place spotless. She even labeled her spices like a scientist on the edge of a culinary breakthrough. At work, her colleagues noticed the change. Instead of sneaking out to anyhow, Zina started bringing her own food, jollof rice, egusi soup, fried plantain with a fried egg so perfectly golden, it could model for Instagram. Everyone wanted a taste. Zina, you cook this? Yep. Wait, you? Like, our takeout queen Zina. The old her would have made a joke. But this new Zina smiled with quiet pride and said, yes. I made it. And I washed my hands twice, too. Pat Witero enter, Obina the soft-spoken syntax king. Then came Obina. An IT guy with nerdy glasses, an easy smile, and arms strong enough to carry both your Wi-Fi problems and emotional baggage. They'd spoken once or twice at work, but only in passing. That changed the day she offered him a plate of her homemade coconut rice. He took a bite, paused, and blinked twice like his taste buds had seen heaven. "Zina," he said, mouth half full, "this rice is divine." She grinned. "I cook now." He chuckled. "If this is your new personality, I fully support it." And just like that, lunch turned into walking breaks, which turned into long evening chats, which turned into him accidentally leaving his USB drives on her desk. Zina didn't need a dating app. She had pepper soup. Firecracker, but the peace wouldn't last. One afternoon, Zina overheard two teachers talking about a new government initiative. The chairman just approved a school lunch program. Guess who won the contract? Who? Anyhow Restaurant. Zina dropped her biro. Her heart skipped a beat. Children. Innocent, trusting children eating that food. She couldn't stay silent. She needed to be sure. One last time. Woman detective medium dark skin tone the final sneak in. The next weekend, she disguised herself in a plain scarf, sunglasses, and her least Zina-like outfit, a dusty wrapper and oversized shirt. She looked like someone running errands, not plotting a health code takedown. She returned to the scene of the crime. Anyhow Restaurant was bustling, shinier than ever, like it had just polished its own lies. A large banner outside read, "Now supplying lunches to 12 government schools." Zina pushed past the glass doors and took a table by the back again. She ordered nothing. This time, she waited until the lunch crowd thinned and the staff got relaxed. Then she slipped into the hallway. Slipped through the swinging kitchen doors. She was back in the belly of the beast. Faced with medical mask, what she saw changed everything. The smells were worse. The rats more brazen. The aprons, still crusty. But that wasn't what froze her in place. It was the giant bucket near the sink. A thick red substance being stirred by a young cook who looked barely old enough to vote. He dumped something inside the soup. Zina stepped closer, heart pounding. She saw the label on the small black plastic bag he just emptied into the pot. Her eyes widened. Mouth agape. She stumbled back. This was not a spice. The taste of truth. Zina stood in the middle of the kitchen at Anyhow Restaurant, paralyzed. The cook, unaware of her presence, casually tore open another black plastic bag and emptied its suspicious contents into the large metal pot of soup. A pungent herbal smell hit her nose, earthy, bitter, and unnervingly familiar. She took a step closer and squinted at the label on the discarded bag lying on the floor. Marijuana root blend, for sedative use only. Not for human consumption. Her blood went cold. This wasn't pepper. This wasn't even seasoning. It was a drug. Zina's heart pounded so loud she feared it might alert the entire kitchen. She quietly snapped a photo. Then another. Then zoomed in on the bag stacked beside the meat freezer. The meat. Flies buzzed lazily around the haphazard pile of what she could now clearly identify, expired animal parts. Chicken legs with greenish spots. Fish with sunken eyes. Meat that looked like it had been rejected by even the local stray dogs. They weren't just unhygienic. They were criminal. And they were feeding this poison to children. Zina turned and left without a word, her hands shaking, phone clutched like a grenade of truth. Studio microphone public exposure, truth hits the airwaves. She went straight to the one person who wouldn't think she was crazy, Chuka, a young, no-nonsense radio journalist known for dragging corrupt officials on air like it was his life's calling. Zina, he said after seeing her photos and hearing the full story, this is war. And I've got the perfect microphone for it. That week, Chuka's evening program on Osoto FM ran a special expose titled, "The Truth Behind the Kitchen Door, How a Popular Restaurant is Poisoning Our People." He played interviews. Shared recordings. He even read out the label on the herbal sedative live on air. The town exploded. Parents panicked. Health officials scrambled. Social media went berserk. The authorities were forced to investigate. And when they did, they found everything Zina had described, and worse. Man police officer medium dark skin tone fallout, shut down and locked up. The next day, Anyhow restaurant was shut down permanently. Health workers in hazmat suits rolled out spoiled meat and bag samples like they were dealing with a crime scene, because they were. The owner, Chief Ojaiku, a smug, well-connected businessman who had smiled through every scandal until now, was arrested for endangering public health, violating multiple food safety laws, and illegally using unapproved herbal drugs in food. Turns out, he'd been using sedative herbs to keep customers addicted, giving them cravings, suppressing discomfort, and creating a false sense of satisfaction. It wasn't just really good stew. It was manipulation. With a side of parasites. Cooking Zina's new beginning, Kitchen of Light. After the dust settled, Zina knew she couldn't go back to her old life, or her old self. With the encouragement and stubborn cheerleading of Kolechi, she opened a SMA.